Hello, hello. How are you, Shalini? Welcome.
Hi, Swati. So excited to see you right here from Paris, or at least in my mind, in Paris.
Yeah, I want my house decor to look the Scandinavian as well, but it doesn't. But it's okay.
Do it for you, okay?
Yeah, perfect. Great. Thanks for joining me on the Unscripted career. We were talking about it, and the whole motivation is to give your stories and many of like our friends' stories to the large majority of girls and people in this age group of 20s and 30s, and even more if they spend their time, but with the intent that they should know that careers don't really follow a script, that success can mean very different things to different people, and that we can make those pivots at various points in our life, and like still life kind of takes care of it. And I want to show people as many stories as possible where this has happened. And has it happened for you, right? Like you've moved between industries, you've taken little breaks here and there to kind of like take care of yourself, which is so important in today's world. And you're doing great, you're thriving. So welcome, Shalini.
Thank you, Swati, and thanks for having me. I think my journey is definitely not linear. I had expected a very linear upward journey, climbing the ladder, the steps in a very conventional way. It's not turned out that way. Of course, there are some regrets, but mostly in hindsight, everything has turned out just the way I want it to be. And let's see what the future holds. And I'm very excited to talk more about my journey.
Perfect, great. So we'll rewind back a little bit. We'll think, I don't know how many years we'll rewind back, but think of Shalini from her childhood, and how was the relationship of Shalini and education, relationship of how Shalini thought about when she'll grow up. So what did that look like?
So, Shalini, as a kid, for at least since I was in nursery, it was very drilled into me IIT plus IIM. You have to earn these qualifications. My family on both sides are quite qualified. Quite qualified. Parents are PhDs, done well in their careers, one government, one private, grandparents the same way. So it was always drilled into my brain that you have to do IIT plus IIM. And that has been my whole approach in life towards education and studies. And not to brag, but I have been one of those people who I've been first rank my whole life till 12th. Till 12th in the school, and in 10th, 12th, I think I would have cracked nation and statewide toppers lists also. They're not available, so I can't say anymore. So that has been my singular focus in life. And I think I love all subjects equally. I think I did lean towards languages and literature a little bit more. Writing, creative writing is a big passion and a hobby. I loved quizzing, which is, an extension of the way you approach knowledge.
Yeah.
And of course, maths, physics, chemistry have been good at it in fits and starts, I would say. Where I think I really focus my energies again in a very conventional path. So from 6th, 7th onwards, I went for IIT coaching to qualify for Ramaya, because I was based in Hyderabad, and we had a very good infrastructure for coaching. And luckily my parents did not send me to those really bad cram schools and everything that you go your whole life first class to 10th class. I've seen kids who go at 6 a.m. and come back in first class at 8 9 p.m. Luckily I didn't have that. I went
Names
to
are coming to my mind because I live in Hyderabad and I see.
Now you live in Hyderabad, right? I grew up with that, and luckily I was in Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan's good, well-rounded school, a really strong approach. So, but again, I did go for the IIT coaching from 6th, 7th onwards, really grueling, and I did crack Ramaya in post 10th. So there is a joke in Hyderabad circles that cracking Ramaya, which is the premier coaching center in Hyderabad, is tougher than cracking IIT, because around, I think, 1,20,000 people used to write the exam and 120 used to get selected.
Wow. Yeah.
Total class would be maybe 200 with, there was a different PA for rural and for certain other concentrations, but 120. So we used to laugh that this is more selective than the IIT back in the day. So I did those 2 years at Ramaya, did not enjoy it at all. I would, in hindsight, people will say it built character. I do not think it built character, but I had great professors. So there was a lot of learning from them. And then ultimately, I think since you were talking about the relationship with studies, I think that's when also I faced the biggest first disappointment in my life. So I did the IIT exam. I was super happy. I thought that I was going to rank, and I always expected, I would say, a top 2 to 300 rank for myself, considering my academic history and everything. And nothing. I got no rank at all. And I don't know what happened. I think that was one of the first years we had negative marking also. And I really do not know what happened. And that was such a shock to me. I did well in the IIEEE, so I was able to get like NIT Warangal, EC at that point of time. And then I also gave my BITSAT. In BITSAT, I was ending up at BITS Goa, and BITS Goa. So finally, I chose BITS Pilani Goa, which was at the time just 3 years old campus. But of course, it had the BITS name, and very keen. And I had got a chemical engineering seat. The thing is, my goal in life was to be a NASA astronaut or to work at NASA. So I wanted to do astrophysics, etc. So if physics was in the route, the next best is, of course, mechanical or aeronautical engineering. So even in IIT, my dream was like, I'll do the aeronautical engineering course. So that's where I was like, okay, chemical engineering has a high chance of converting into mechanical when I was going for the counseling. And that's how I ended up choosing BITS Goa. I think it was the start of the transformation of Shalini, the most amazing journey of my life. Of course, then it helped me, next time moved on to IIM K also. So I have a very, very cookie cutter profile that way. Topper, topper, BITS, BITS, IIM, but I still think I carry that trauma that how did I not get anything at IIT? Like not even like 10,000 rank, nothing.
That's interesting. And that's like with the passion that you're talking about it, I can see that it's still kind of like somewhere in your heart it stays.
Yeah, imagine doing 6 years of studies, right? I think all of us would have been on similar, like from 6th class to 12th, I'm doing that and suddenly.
Well, the truth is that till 10th, I had no idea what IIT even means. In 11th, when I was one of the state toppers, etc., I think most of us just, it's like by habit we end up doing what we do because parents told that scoring good marks is the sure shot way of a successful life. So same thing here till 10th. But when I got my 10th exam results, my favorite subject always has been maths. So I was like, hey, can I do commerce and like maybe take a shot at SRCC, etc. Like, no, but the people who score do non-medical. And that's like one of the script things, right? That you follow since childhood that, hey, either your family is a family of CAs, or if the family doesn't have a background like that, then if you score well, you either become a doctor or an engineer. Yeah. Thankfully, hopefully, these things are changing little by little. I'm 38 right now. I see my nephews and nieces having a little more choices, but I completely resonate with you when you say that, that seemed like the one way of succeeding at life.
Yeah, and I think that, now, 'cause since we're having this discussion, a lot of our seniors, etc., from IIT, IIM, who have, or, people who've been able to move and grow in their careers in liberalized India have been able to give their children very different outcomes and very different paths. So people are doing very interesting things. Although I will always say that, yes, do have a practical angle to it. So that's important, but now it's also good that MBA institutes in India were very focused on engineers, and now they're expanding. They're getting the CAs. They're getting I think economics grads and all who are, like from DU or from any other colleges. They're much better. They have much better preamble to what is studying and to what is studied in an MBA. I realized that after meeting such people. So I think, I think 50% of IIM K intake this time was non-engineer. So it's good that these options are opening up in India, and that open-minded families are able to open up interesting options for growth and studies for, like your nephews and nieces and the next
Yeah.
gen.
So you said, okay, Bits Goa happened. That was a great time in your life, and then IIM Koikod happened. So during IIMK, was there like a dream profile that you said that, hey, this is what I want to do?
I think, I think, before I went into IIM, I was very sure I was going to do marketing. Because when I went into college, when I went into BITS Goa, and I used to be excellent at physics, decent at chemistry, and I was like, okay, I'm going to crack my NASA dream. I think the first 2 years were a reality check. I was studying with absolutely brilliant people, way ahead of me. And also, I realized one thing, that a subject should come to me naturally. I should feel it, and that continues till today, that if something comes to me naturally, I'll go deep, I learn easily. Certain things were not landing up for me naturally in mechanical fluid dynamics, which is the most important subject for this. So then I realized that this is not landing for me and I need to do something outside, right? So the way forward for IIM was always in my mind, but I didn't know what to do at an IIM, right? Then I got into different clubs and committees. I was one of the heads for the Department of Journalism and PR. I
Hey,
was same. I was in the Department of Journalism. I used to head a region for what was called, we used to call it Department of Publicity and Public Relations, where, you publicized your fests outside, you got people to do. So definitely sales and marketing related jobs. So I knew that, okay, this is something that I'm good at. And I was always interested in creativity, in writing, and that came through a lot through advertising, right? In those days, funny jokes, etc. So I was like, okay, these three things are my core. I'm going to do sales, marketing, maybe advertising, etc. So so before I stepped into IIMK, I was like, मुझे ये सब करना है. And but when I got into the system, I realized the whole placement thing and all. I did not know about it before. I wish I had known. I wish I had known. So I came in with a very strong profile at IIMK, but it was still something that, you're a fish and you're just dropped into, I don't know, like boiling water, or the frog has been dropped into boiling water, and I did not know what to do. My dream profiles definitely were the FMCG profiles. Wanted to crack the Unilever. PNG had come for the first year that time for operations, ITC, couple of others. Like those were my deep dream profiles. Didn't land up any, unfortunately. And it was quite a struggle to land something till I did get I did get a very interesting option to work on. But yeah, those were the dream profiles. And I think somewhere in my mind for a long time, that's what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted to do. And I tried to keep going back to those sort of profiles. But I think now I'm much more confident. I know what these jobs entail, what I'm good at, what I'm not, where I'm a fit, etc. and on. So I think at this point of my career, I'm much more comfortable I'm much more comfortable. But it took me around, I would say, 5-6 years to figure out, like post IIM also, like
Yeah.
how careers are actually structured and shaped and how
Yeah.
people hire. Yeah.
I feel like it's funny how many similarities there are. I used to do PR and media com during my engineering and IIM days as well. FMCG profiles. I sometimes now wonder whether those are also just scripts, or like this is what people or toppers or like people who are settled well from these colleges do, because a lot of
Those
times
are scripts. I think
people
those are
go
scripts.
in thinking that hey, either FMCG कर लेंगे या consult कर लेंगे. I'm sure these days people think a lot more about startups, etc., or like VC type of jobs. But back in 2011, when I was graduating from IIM Indore, the best jobs were supposed to be the consulting jobs or the FMCG jobs, and I feel like the main criteria of them being the best jobs was the pay package that they used to offer. Those were the highest, so everybody vouched for them, right? Now, as you said, all of us over the first 5 years of our career, I feel like we kind of try to understand, okay,
Yeah.
what is it that I'm enjoying? In our first jobs as well, we might be doing little, and you started as a management trainee, right? So tell me, like, what were the things that you realized you really enjoy?
So I started as a, so like I said, my path turned out to be very different. I ended up getting an overseas placement. So the year that we were having placements, quite a few of us, quite a few companies had come which were either based abroad or had offices abroad. So I think we had Tolaram, which still comes and, very famous across Africa, Singapore, etc. So a lot of my friends went there. I was in a company called NMC Group. NMC was at the time listed on the London Stock Exchange. It was listed there until 2020 and was a very interesting organization. It had been solely built by the hard work of one gentleman and his family, and it was like the Apollo hospitals of the Middle East, if I may draw a parallel. They had a wide range of private hospitals
Mm-hmm.
across the UAE, where government hospitals were the norm. And they were also expanding beyond. So they expanded into several markets in the GCC, Gulf Cooperation Council countries, and also beyond in Europe and everything. So it was a very interesting business model. And additionally, NMC used to have a division called called NMC Trading. So NMC Trading is where we were because sales and distribution is a very big business in the Middle East. Because while the countries and the geographies are smaller, much smaller compared to India, a lot of the traditional brands, like the traditional FMCG brands today, you see them very entrenched in India. They've been there since
Yeah.
day one, etc. But how they used to work in those days would be, and this is not just for FMCG, this was also for pharma, this was also for medical devices and consumables where I worked, right? So NMC Trading was a sales and distribution and marketing company where they would take brands, they would do the sales and distribution of some of the best brands in the world. So there was Nivea, I remember Lakme, I think Anchor toothpaste. My friends worked on the Himalaya portfolio, which was a very, very big portfolio, Supermax, etc. Close friends from IIM. Some of them were still there till I think the company closed its doors in 2020. And I worked in the medical devices unit. So there, it was my first big exposure to medical devices. My parents actually come from the industry. They work in the allied industries for medicine, and I knew about these brands and these products, but you just hear them when mom is discussing a tender or dad is discussing what's the best instrument.
Yeah.
So I think when I went into the company, it was a very interesting time. And they were just hiring the first bunch of management trainees, and they were like, suddenly, oh my God, they'll come and do something very different. And I was one lost kid. I was just 23. I'd never held a job. I'd done 2 internships, but I never held a job. And the first thing they was like, okay, welcome, read this brochure. For 1 week. You have to go and you have to sell this product for gynecology. What? I do not. I'm like, I know my anatomy, but okay. So the product was to sell a brand which was related to gynecology, and there were a couple of surgical tools related to gynecology. I was like, I do not know this at all. So then I was going through technical documents and just deep diving into technical stuff, like I shadowed a couple of people around, and they said, okay, 1 week say sales kar lo. But again, one thing in Dubai is in India, you have the comfort that you will get, the place.
Yeah.
B is like you can spend on cabs, etc. if you are in a modern setup, right? I know many of my friends also did rural, so I'm not comparing myself with them. I was in Dubai, which was very nice. And so suddenly, I was figuring out and it was the dead heat of summer. Ramzan had just started, and of course, respectfully, you couldn't eat, etc., or drink much in public. You had to do it private. So there I was, this one lost 23-year-old. I did not have the right clothes, and I was running, figuring out what were the bus routes, train routes. I walked, I think, I used to walk around 2-3 kilometer stretches because they used to be full of doctors' offices, the fancy doctors' offices. And I used to walk just pouring in the heat and getting turned away everywhere. And the only way to do this successfully was to, have a vehicle, because cabs and all were too expensive. They won't do it. So it was, I think, trial by fire. So 1 year was definitely trial by fire for me, and especially because I'm selling such a technical product, right?
That's one of the things with MBA, like most management trainings, that this learning by doing sort of a thing is entrenched into us. Also, this reason why they, I think, hire from premium schools is that, okay, that these people will understand, they'll pick up fast, so it's easy to throw them in like a completely new field. And our friends in consulting do it like multiple times a year, right? Like they'll just go read up about the industry, talk to people, shadow people, and then just like you have to show that you are like the expert in this field, right?
Yeah. Yesterday I was having a very deep, long conversation with someone who was trying to find out more about the beauty industry from consulting, and it was just like a 3-hour conversation. So I know, there is a huge pressure, but I think again, it did build character. It did. And then, I was, after a while, I was very confident, at least in, how to move around Dubai, where to go, what were the best places, where to find the doctors, when to. So all that I caught on quickly. And I think after that, I sort of moved into a, management training. You do 1 year, and then I became a marketing manager. So then my focus shifted to the whole business. So this was around 100 million AED at that point of time. And now I would, at that point of time, that means it was 25 to 30 million USD business, right? So I was looking at the entire marketing dynamics for the same, coordinating with the brand partners. We used to call them the principals. Coordinating with the brand partners, conducting continuing medical education program for doctors, lots of brand collaterals, lots of events, like in-person events like Arab Health and dental conferences. So all these conferences. So I think my big memory there was to host like this amazing event for one of our very old partners in the Burj Khalifa. So, I'm 24 and I'm running point for like this whole big event at Burj Khalifa on the 100th floor, like everything, from the speeches to the entertainment decided by me. So that was one of the very fun memories. And at the end of the night, I just collapsed. I couldn't eat anything. And at the end of the night, just collapsing on the Burj Khalifa. And I remember sitting there. In the Burj Khalifa, it was an apartment, but it was a very large apartment. The main hall was huge, like incredible. And I'm stretching my arms, but I guess the parasite is cutting me off. Huge. So I just sat down in like a very fancy glittery dress, and I just sat down and I just looked out into the city, at 2 a.m. with all those tiny glittering lights, and that was just like, oh my god, I pulled this off at this age, right? So when you were asking what I liked about being a management trainee, I think because we were the first set of management trainees, I got a lot of this kind of exposure, which, these are memories. I got to host an event at the Burj Khalifa. I got to work with some very amazing partners from across the globe. I got to work on many interesting mandates for the company because, it was at the phase they had just listed on the London Stock Exchange. They were a very traditional Indian/UAE company in operation, and suddenly they wanted to modernize. We had new leadership and all. So, working on a lot of things, there was no concept of, I won't say there was no concept. It was not tracked very closely. Margins were not tracked closely. Inventory turnover was not tracked closely.
Mhm.
So I was part of building those things out. So I think in hindsight, I just worked on a lot of very interesting things there. But it all happens in hindsight. When you're doing it, you're just running. And
Yeah.
finally you sit and say, okay, this is not bad. And I don't say that to myself. It's when my friend said, you did this, did that. That's where it is.
That sounds fancy. Awesome. So from there, you moved to a couple more medical
Yeah.
/ pharmaceutical style companies, and then you moved to Tata for
Yeah.
starting their makeup business. What was that journey like? And also, if you can talk a little bit about what's your relationship with makeup, because I see Shalini generally in like bright colors, always full of life. So what's that relationship like?
So I'm just adding a disclaimer, which I told you before I forget, is that whatever I say, not related to my employer's current or former or personal opinions, so that I'm covered. This is the CYA clause, right? So coming to the journey, so post I worked at NMC for 4 years. I wanted to come back to India, kind of focus on my health and also grow my career, because that's when digital was really taking off in India. There was a break and all. We'll discuss that later, maybe. But then I kind of worked with 2 organizations for short stints, interesting stints. One was in healthcare, where I was building the vertical for, for services related to dermatology and dentists, and also aesthetic and wellness clinics. This was at a company called Zoilo DigiHealth. I was there for a while before I shifted to Upgrad. Upgrad was again an interesting stint. I was a program marketing manager. So really hands-on, very brutal hands-on experience of digital marketing. And it was a very, I would say, it was a very interesting new unit, right? So it was a new business. So I had to really get my hands dirty, figure it out. Again, trial by fire. Next, I moved on to one of our fellow Wim had founded this lovely company called Style Nook. Aarti, you've interviewed her. So I got a very amazing chance to work for 1 year with Aarti. And I think when I talk about moving to Tata and beauty and all, I think what gave me a chance to work with Tata was also the experience that I had built at Style Nook, heading marketing there. Because Style Nook was a personalized styling platform for professional women. So when I finally went into the Tata Group, Tata Click, which is their flagship e-commerce business, was building it was building a beauty app. They wanted to build not just a beauty app, but a really beauty ecosystem in a business. And I was hired for that, more in a commercial role as a category manager. But this app was supposed to be, and it has been launched, and right now this it still exists within Tata Click Fashion, as you know, which is the parent app. But the app itself right now is no longer live, right? So when I got into the business, the idea was to build a personalized app, like a Instagram feed for women, and of course men also, but like largely female consumers. And then they would, land on this business, land on this app, which would give them a very personalized look into beauty, which would suit their preferences, right? After they answered a question. We used to do something very similar at Style Now. So I think when I was interviewed also, I think they understood. I think this is the role where I was told much later on that I was selected versus a very qualified candidate, because they saw my passion for beauty. They saw how my face lit up, how I excited was. So, seeing passion for beauty, they were, so, it worked out for me. Second thing is, of course, the experience I got in personalization and thinking about something futuristic and different. So that kind of journey from Style Nook to this one happened. And before I get into the Tata journey, where I ultimately ended up being building the app, right? Working on building the app and the business along with some amazing leaders. The journey with makeup and beauty is actually much, much more longer. Like, I think when I was a kid, my mom used to have this one Lakme frosted lipstick, brown wala. It's right now back in fashion. I think it still is there at home. I hope my mom has thrown it out. But it was that one lipstick, lips, cheeks, eyes, everything. And I had a bunch of friends in school who were very fancy. They were a little forward into beauty and everything. And, like we would buy those cute bracelets, junk jewelry, we used to call it at that point of time. I think that's when I really started getting exposure. And I am a very I'm a nerd in some ways. Like if I get into something, I stick to it and I just sink deep into that subculture. And I have several other hobbies and niche interests like this. So at that time, beauty was niche for sure. Fashion was also niche. So I was also very much into fashion. So I used to pick up that Grishoba, Femina. Later on, I used to pay 125 rupees, which was huge, for Vogue. And I used to scroll through Vogue at that point of time. And that's when I started buying beauty also. So I actually had, like in 6th class and all, I had that Lakme, that eyeshadow palette, that 4-pan. And I used to apply it. Those eyeshadow quality is still very good. And I used to have an incredibly off-color liquid foundation that I think I used even until B school, that Lakme wala. So then I started evolving. So by 7th, 8th class, I was heading to Lifestyle, which was the fanciest destination in Hyderabad, which was still an upcoming city then. And I remember buying, like my parents, that time I used to think Maybelline was very fancy because, they had the white models and they were like, oh, maybe it's Maybelline. And Maybelline's prices were also very high at the time. I think now it's become more like, but for India, they had like made it like a premium. So Maybelline and all, I would not go. Lakme to khareed hi lete the. Then there was Chambord, Geneva, and I was like, oh. And I went and I used to buy Chambord. I still have my two lipsticks from Chambord that I bought. One matte lipstick like the perfect condition mein hai, and I'm telling you, this is 9th class. Okay, so this is 2004. Abhi tak bacha hua hai, 21 years. I have to just find it. So I keep it out of nostalgia. Chambord Geneva is a very Indian brand, by the way, for everyone to know. It's a private label of one of India's largest distributors. It's a great brand. They have good formulas. And some of it, I think at that time also was manufactured abroad, but it is Chambord Geneva faces Canada for everyone who's watching are not foreign brands, folks, just for your information. So anyways, So and they had great formulas, and I was so yay. So I think then what started happening is when I went into my undergrad, right? I used to be the girl. Everyone used to come to my room for a dressing up. Dressing up, matlab, whether it was the fashion jewelry, whether
Yeah.
it was clothes, and I was always overweight and heavier than everyone else. But still, people would like, if there's a special occasion, they would borrow the dress. They would get someone to put in tux for a few days, and they used to wear it. So people would come to my room for all the fashion jewelry, yeah, and of course the makeup. So I got late to my own farewell photos because I did the makeup for like around 10, 15 people.
Love it.
And I had, at that point of time, my dad had gone to the US. So he had got this one big elf palette. Elf is now huge, eyes, lips, face.
Yeah.
And everybody used to follow it. And I used to use and make like, different things on people's faces. So I think that kind of thing just carried. And I think the interest in skincare, because I've always had great skin. I think even in Paro's thing, she was saying that I didn't really take care of my skin.
Yeah.
And, it was a second step after makeup. But I wasn't very into skincare, hair care, but I always used to use, I would say for that time, premium brands. I was always ahead of the time. I was studying what fashion was happening in Vogue and stuff. And there were two turning points. I think one of the turning points was when I had to do my internship by myself in Pune. It is a 6-month internship that BITS Pilani folks do called PS2, and you have to, which is very good. But I was alone in Pune. And that's when I think that I didn't have time. So I really sank into fashion and beauty. I used to buy magazines every week. I used to go shopping. I was reading up on trends. And I was telling people, ye kharido, wo kharido. And so that was one turning point. The second turning point, I would say, happened in two phases. One, the earlier phase was when I was in IIM K. So when I was in IIM K, what happened is already I carried this reputation from beds, like, oh, she knows a lot about beauty, etc. And I remember there was this hilarious time, right? Like I was in the class, second year, and we had Professor Anand Kuttandi Unnit, and he was like, okay, who is the most yay about fashion and beauty here? So class mein 18, 19, and everybody loudly, Shalini. This was in second year, so my reputation was well established. Like hiding face, what to do. And I also remember that I was the one who started getting people to buy stuff online, or like Jabong was around that time, for all our farewells and dances and everything, because Kozhikode mein utne achhe shops nahi the. We had one Max and they would deliver. And I started getting people on ASOS, which used to do free delivery. And you would get really nice clothes in 2,000, 3,000. So, I even help people with credit cards. So they'd buy, it would go to their homes, and moms and dads could send it, and you never needed to pay customs. So I actually have that. I wrote it as one of my introductions in our WIM group back when it started in 2018-19, that I converted people to ASOS. So that was one of those, journeys where, you suddenly was one of those turning points, because I had so much information about fashion. But when I moved to Dubai, it's like you have that, what do they call that, hockey stick graph. Okay, so it was the hockey stick graph in Dubai. In Dubai, you cannot keep up. I was telling you about my story of sweating and dying and crying. And that's when I realized that I have, like, the people I was competing with, beautiful people, beautifully dressed, smart makeup, that would last through those like terrible, like that 45-degree weather, 45-degree weather, beautiful people everywhere. You want to get entry to a club to dance and all, also you had to look the part. And suddenly I was like flabbergasted by all this beauty. I did not know of Sephora's existence before that. Okay, I knew ASOS, but I didn't know Sephora. So then I walked into my first Sephora. I think I have that receipt still somewhere. Like in January 20, when did I start? January 2014, because I started job. And I'm like, Wonderland. And I think that's when the downhill slide maybe of my finances also, and the deep hockey stick growth into beauty. I was always into fashion and I will be, but and fashion also, I used to shop a lot in Dubai and everything, and know all the trends. But like the way I entered beauty, it was just like it's a very natural thing for me. And the extension into various categories, and I studied it deeply, etc. Till today, my friends, they're like, Shalini, influencer ban jana, Instagram pe laga lena. You'll easily, whatever salary you'll getting, you'll recover it in 3 months. Like those are still conversations I have today. And these girls have been telling me the same thing since the last 10 years.
Yeah, just imagine you had started putting content out 10 years back.
Confidence. And I'll tell you, it's also, see, putting out content requires a lot of creativity. I am more of a written creativity sort of a person. And I'm also, I would say creativity for me is like, fits and starts. Kabhi muse aati hai to yaar, kuch kar lete hain, right? So I think I need to build that discipline, but I think it's also very hard to put yourself and your face out there, right? It requires a certain degree of both je ne sais quoi and both nonchalance. That
Yeah.
you're out there, you tolerate negative comments, etc. Plus, I do want a regular professional career with a daily pay, a monthly paycheck. So all those concerns have always been at the back of my mind. I think I need to take the leap someday, not today. So that's
So
where
you're
I
talking
am right.
about the nonchalance required and also like
Yeah.
the discussion about the paycheck. But we did discuss that you had a couple of times when you took slightly like a sabbatical slash break.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
So I have taken 2 breaks in my career overall. And would I recommend that to others? Not really, because I went through a lot of struggle and pain during those times. The During those times, do but I would recommend it to people who really need it, because nowadays it's becoming increasingly necessary. I think we tend to, there is a spectrum where people over romanticize sabbaticals and breaks, or people are brutally practical about it. The truth is, there is no correct answer. It lies somewhere in between. You have to have context, life stage, the amount of money you have, etc. So, folks, first tip: don't do what I did. Please spend your money, invest your money wisely, and don't spend it all. Because in Dubai, in my quest for fashion and beauty, I actually did spend a lot. And like, I still have those clothes and the makeup, but but not financially very wise for a young person. So when I chose to come back from Dubai, the thing is, the reason was I had really ballooned in weight. I had gone, and I'd always been heavy, genetics and all on my side. So I'd always been heavy, and I had gone from like 100 kg average, so I was 150. Couldn't climb steps, couldn't do anything, and just and I had not realized the progress, and that happens to me on and off. And then suddenly I was and so then that's when I decided that, okay, I need to take a health break, I need to come back to India. So I decided to undertake a bariatric surgery. And the second thing was also for career growth. I was like that the I was in a very traditional B2B marketing career, but like I said, my heart always lies in very interesting, in the categories that interest me. So I was always like, let's do something in beauty, let's do something in fashion. And that was when India was exploding. So I said, okay, वापस आके कर ले. My parents were kind enough, they were like, okay, we'll financially support you, etc. I came back. It was supposed to be a short break, but the surgery in a way was not a major surgery, it was a minor surgery, but it was a major lifestyle change. My stomach became the size of a banana, and
Yeah.
I couldn't eat anything. It was very less. Even today, I can eat maybe one fourth what a normal human can at a meal, like at one go. right? And I can't eat beyond that. Was just a massive lifestyle change, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. So while I worked on myself, I got the and everything, exercise and everything. There were two things that I realized that I felt the stifling problem of not having financial independence, because your parents can only indulge you so much, and also for people who don't have safety nets, right? Because a lot of people don't have safety nets in the modern world, or they have responsibilities towards family, towards parents, maybe they're married, etc. So please build a safety net, since you were talking about it. So I did not build a safety net, and I really regret it, because it could have really helped me make smarter choices, make wiser choices, and be more intentional about what I did next. So that is number one. Number two is also, when I took that break, one of the things, and this is, I attribute to three things that I had a lack of understanding of. I had a lack of understanding of the local market and how recruiters hire. Recruiters hire. I had a double whammy, which I didn't realize at the time, that I came back from an international assignment, and I was also taking a medical break, right? So I'd taken a medical break. So that was a double whammy. The point number the point number two was, I did not know how salaries were playing out. And I tell this to every person today. I share like those reports from Michael Page and all. Please know the average salary band, and for the role that you're doing, for the years of experience, for the kind of industry you're in. This information is available a lot now, lot more transparently these days. So please make sure that you get paid what you're worth. So that is number two, I say. Number three is, like I already talked about, the financial aspect. Please have a backup plan, etc. And number four is, please don't think twice about taking a break if you're somewhere that's really burning you out, causing you so many problems. Because if you break down, if you finally take care of your health, and it could be mental health, if not physical, if you take care of your health much later, the kind of repercussions that are going to happen on your confidence, on your ability to do work, and therefore grow, that will drop drastically in the future. So if you're in a stage where you're like, I can't take it anymore, please move ahead. Like, that's when you can, unless there's something really horrible happening, that's when you can just go and take that take. I would recommend it to everybody, because there are so many people I know that's struggling, especially a lot of my friends who are either young parents or have caregiving responsibilities. So I would recommend that please do take care of yourself and your family. That's the utmost important.
Yeah.
Because if you don't recover yourself, you're not going to be able to bounce back and earn well, or whatever it is that you plan to.
So when thank you, Shalini. This is very helpful. Also, generally, people who take a break kind of like would be in this space of yeah, I did it, you can do it too. But thank you for giving a much more balanced perspective on that. Plan for it financially, mentally, job wise. Like, what is your plan B and C, so that you can come back to it. The other thing that I also wanted to explore was, you mentioned it in the passing around around marriage and these type of things, right? So while you are doing all of these things, you are working in Dubai, coming back, changing careers. What did it look like on a personal side?
Okay. So on a personal side, sorry, I think there was a game. On the personal side, see, one of the things that, like I said, while growing up, it is thoda that drilled into me, IIT, IIM, etc. So that has been drilled into me. And I also, how do I put it? I may have lucked out with family members or parents who are not very, while they've tried, they're not very cut up or bothered today if I don't have someone, right? So I've never really
Hmm.
thought about marriage, to be very honest. I've not actively thought about it. As a young girl, of course, you have the dreams. Yeah, I'll have a husband. I'll have kids. I was like, I want kids by 25. I have decided their names. They're in fact named after my favorite anime characters, Miyaka and her husband and her brother. Keisuke. So I was like, this will be their first names, Japanese name rakhenge India mein. So all this, Kian, Vian, Shian, they had no competition against my name choosing. So I had all these dreams in my mind. But nowadays, then marriage has not crossed a lot. I am more of a career focused, building my building myself, building my career, and taking care of my parents, and of course, having great friendships. I think I have also lucked out that my friends have wonderful toddlers, and I get to be an auntie who visits and is a cool auntie. They can play with my nails. Shout out to Mrinalini and Ananya, who's like very obsessed with my nails. So I get that pleasure. I have wanted to have pets, though a dog, but again, Mumbai high rises are not the places for really nice Labradors, and that's a dream that I have. So maybe sometime later, but I'm really, because people haven't put pressure on me, and I've also not felt any FOMO, because I think I've seen a large set of my friends get married post 33, 34, 35. Quite a few of my friends, again, they may not be single, but they're not married, and they're not planning to marry soon. And there's also people I know in my circle who are in, let's say, uh, they are in long-term relationships, but then they don't wish to be in conventional marriages. So that's also interesting, where they're like, they want a civil partnership or something like that, where they have a partner versus uh, with well-defined boundaries. So it's interesting the way marriage in, I would say, again, urban India, and maybe for a certain set of people, is being reshaped. So I don't feel a pressure, but if somebody, but I really want to have a dog
I
someday.
love it. Thank you. The only reason I wanted to address it is also
Yeah.
because of the whole like Indian success script generally says that, oh, you should marry by this age and you should have kids by this age. So I just
Or
wanted
by
to
this
kind of
age,
like
yeah.
showcase examples like you who are like perfectly happy people who have found a lot of companionship amongst friends, amongst communities, amongst I'm sure like other people that you meet, but marriage hasn't been the necessity for that. Thankfully, financial freedom has also been there with the kind of career that you had. Awesome. Thank you so much, Shalini. This was really good to have this chat with you. Thank you for being all your confident, true self. And I always love how full of life you come across as, even though I'm sure you've had your challenges. So thank you so much for this time. I loved having this discussion.
I loved having this conversation too, Swati. I think I went on for quite a bit. So there were parts that I missed about, let's say, my career, etc. But thank you for having me. I just want to share a small ending note that unscripted careers are not for everybody. Unscripted careers are not for everybody. Be careful in what you choose. But also, don't underestimate yourself if you find yourself in an unscripted career. I think for years and years, I had been unhappy about the way my career was going, shaping, and I always felt that I was on the back foot. But a lot of conversations with friends, with nice coaches, with well wishers, etc., have helped me see that what I saw as weaknesses were perhaps strengths and interesting learnings. So I would say, if you are having an unscripted career, if somebody lands up there, please don't worry. Just know how to highlight and market yourself well, and believe in yourself. And if you can't, then take help from the world, and because there are a lot of people who believe in you. So choose wisely.
This theme of giving yourself and the universe time to kind of get into place is something that I'm picking from all the three discussions that I've had. So thank you so much for underlining that. Thank you, Shalini.
Thank you. Thank you.